In this lesson, we're going to be looking at archiving and compressing. The first thing I want to talk to you about is a utility called tar. Tar is actually short for tape archive, and I want to create a tape archive. First of all, let's see what we've got to archive. So I'm going to create a tape archive. The C is for create. F says I'm going to write it out to a file rather than a tape device. We're going to just call this, let's say, backup.tar. And now I can add in, say, mydir and ps.txt and file1, file.txt. And you didn't actually see any output, and we should see the backup.tar there. The reason you didn't see any output, because I didn't actually tell it to give me any output. If I add the v in, that will be verbose, and you'll see now I'm adding those to the backup file. Once I've got the backup file, what I may want to do is actually compress that, because the tape archive isn't actually compressed in any way. It's just a chunk of files that have been jammed together into an archive. So I may want to actually compress those. Now, I can use gzip on backup.tar, and now what I have is backup.tar.gz. Well, there's an easier way actually to compress and archive at the same time. And let me show you how to do that. Let me get rid of this backup file first before I create it. Now I can do tar xvfz. So I'm going to extract, I want to do a create. Create verbose, meaning show me what you're doing. We're going to use a file, and then we're going to use z for compression. So we're going to zip it. I want to call it backup.tar.gz, and we're going to use the same files that we did before, mydir and ps.txt, file1, and file.txt. Now let's just compare. You can see we had 20,000 bytes, more or less, with the uncompressed version, and down here we've got about 3,500 bytes. So that's the difference between compressed and uncompressed. Now I can certainly compress things with just gzip, and let's just compress one of the files here. So let's compress ps.txt. Now I have ps.txt.gz, and in order to uncompress it, of course, I'm going to just gunzip ps.txt.gz, and I'm back to ps.txt. So I can gunzip or gunzip, and I can gzip, and I can also do the backup. And now I've still got my backup here from my tar. Let's see, we've got a directory, cd mydir. I want a place that I can untar the image that I've got without overwriting the files that were there, just so you can see that it actually worked. So I'm going to tar. Now I want to extract xfvz. And I'm going to say go up a level and use the file backup.tar.gz. And sure enough, we've got file1, file.txt, mydir, and ps.txt that we unzipped and then untarred from the backup.tar.gz file that we had created previously. This is a really good way of creating backup files so you can save some space. You can back up directories as well as files, put them all together, and store them in this archive so that you can move that off somewhere else and retain it for storage. You'll also see, actually, if we go into var log, and we'll deal with log files later, but often you'll see where the backup files, and it hasn't actually happened here, but backups you may actually want to gzip as well. Now, we don't actually have any gzipped backups because we haven't actually rotated anything at this point. You can actually zip log files to save some space as well. So compressing, archiving, you're going to use probably tar to do your archiving and probably gzip, gunzip to do your compression when you're working on a CentOS Linux or a Red Hat Enterprise Linux system.